As a result of Tropical Storm Irene, the town of Brandon has realized several important lessons and as a result has adopted new policies and implemented several projects that were of great priority. We've reconnected floodplain access for the river up in the village of Forestdale. We acquired a FEMA buyout parcel that will allow us to build a larger bridge over the Neshabie River. And we're doing several projects here in the downtown area that will help to not only reduce future flood-related damage, but those costs associated with that damage, as well as to protect aquatic habitat and the environment. We're here in Forestdale, right on the banks of the Neshabie River. This part of the river has been historically channelized and bermed and managed to prevent it from flooding nearby properties until it gets to this point. And this is the first spot on the landscape where the river really has the ability to get out onto its floodplain. This was sort of in conflict with some of the more recent land use here, where this field that we're standing on was in crops for several years, and where the farmer continued to try to keep the river from coming out onto his property, and actually built a very long 1,500-foot long berm in order to prevent the river from moving down through the field and washing away crops. So during Tropical Storm Irene, the river actually got out of its channel and flowed across the floodplain through some backyards and then came through this field at this location and cut quite a wide swath as it traveled down through what was formerly cropland in this location. We subsequently worked with the landowner to take this land out of production and put it in what's known as a river corridor easement. So the state river management program was successful in enrolling this property in this easement, and then we also were able to get the Agency of Agriculture involved to put what's known as the Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program on this parcel to allow it to revegetate. It's been 3 years since Tropical Storm Irene came to town. You can now see all not only the natural regeneration that's happened here, but a lot of deliberate plantings to try to allow for a floodplain forest to grow up and be vibrant. In addition, the town really is able to benefit from this project in that the town is able to protect some of the critical infrastructure with the nearby road and the wastewater treatment plant pump station, so the town was really benefiting from this partnership as well. So we're in a broader valley setting here in the watershed, further downstream from Forestdale, where there was a house that sat here that was severely damaged during Tropical Storm Irene. The landowners decided to participate in the FEMA buyout program, and so we were able to help with some cost share assistance to allow this home to be purchased and removed. With the FEMA buyout of the house that was here and the subsequent acquisition of this parcel by the town is able to replace a very undersized bridge with a longer span to be able to accommodate future floods and build more flood resiliency here in the town infrastructure. With the longer span, the river is not only able to carry additional floodwaters, but also able to convey the sediment that rivers also need to transport, so it does not result in unnatural conditions that might degrade aquatic habitat. During Tropical Storm Irene, the Neshabie River roared through downtown, destroying several buildings, badly damaging Route 7, as well as our town office. The town decided to investigate several alternatives to how to accommodate future flood flows, especially given the vital importance of the Route 7 artery and our town office location. As part of that investigation, we were able to do an analysis that showed that building an overflow structure underneath Route 7 was going to be able to accommodate future flood flows, protect the roadway, and allow the town office to be rehabilitated. The Emergency Release Assistance Fund, also known as ERAF, makes towns more eligible for increased federal and state cost share assistance in the event of another flood disaster. The town of Brandon has done several things to become more eligible for this increase in cost share assistance, including the adoption of an effluvial erosion hazard overlay that prevents future encroachment into the river corridor. We've also adopted the Agency of Transportation's road and bridge standards, which provides for larger capacity structures to be able to accommodate future flood flows. The overflow structure that I mentioned is the best alternative for mitigating future flood damage in downtown Brandon. is projected to be at about $1 million cost. Now, with this ERAF cost share assistance, the federal government would provide 75% of the cost of that project to the tune of about $750,000. The town would otherwise be on the hook to pick up the other 25% of that cost, but with this qualification for additional ERAF funding, it actually cuts the town's cost share percentage of that 25% down to 8%. So what was a $250,000 bill for this proposed structure only becomes a $75,000 bill to the town because of our additional eligibility under the Emergency Relief Assistance Fund. So one of the things we saw with Tropical Storm Irene was a lot of repeat flood damage throughout town. We actually found pictures from the 1938 flood event that showed very similar damage to what we saw and experienced during Tropical Storm Irene. Being able to see where these areas of repeat flood damage occur obviously provides us with very valuable insight as to the ways and methods of reducing this type of flood damage in the future. When we did some of the analysis to see what type of structure would be suitable to be able to pass future flood flows, we did a hydrology and hydraulics analysis of the river, and we could really see the tortuous journey that the river takes as it flows through town and the many encroachments, historical encroachments that have occurred, including the town office sitting right over the bridge over the Neshabie River. We can tell that we need to implement some of these flood mitigation practices within the town office rehabilitation project, such as wet floodproofing the first floor of the building. So with the adoption of these flood mitigation strategies and implementation of various flood-related mitigation projects, the town of Brandon really sees this as a win-win for folks that live in the town and for the environment.